You're doing this. I need
I would
someone
love
to
that.
handle it. All right. Good afternoon. How are you all out? How are all of you today out in internet world? I hope that you all are doing well. My name is Shalonda Griffin, and I'm the Community Relations Coordinator for the Flint and Saginaw areas here at Gift of Life, Michigan. And I am joined by my co-host, Susan Rink, who is the Chief of Philanthropy for the Gift of Life Foundation. How are you today, Susan?
I'm doing well, Shalonda.
Great. I'm so glad
Hi,
that you were
everybody
able
out
to
there.
join us. Yes, I am going to encourage all of you who are watching this today, whether you're on Facebook or LinkedIn or YouTube, to please just drop some comments into our post. Let us know where you're watching. If you have any comments or any questions, just drop it in the chat and we will be sure to give them some attention. Now, Michigan is home to some really amazing young people who are already changing the world and saving lives. And today, Susan and I are joined by two of them. We're going to be joined by two teenage board members of an organization called Key to Finesse, who have helped raise more than $75,000 for the Gift of Life Foundation. I know, that's so awesome. I am honored to introduce to all of you today Kanal Patel and Krish Goldsocker, and they are both from Key to Finesse. How are you two today?
Doing great. How about you?
Great, thank you.
I'm doing great as well. Really excited to be here today.
And we're really excited to have you. So I'm going to talk to you about your organization, Key to Finesse. Can you tell us a little bit about that, please?
Yeah, of course. So Key to Finesse is a student-led nonprofit and was founded in 2015 by Isha Gosalkar and Chintan Maheshwari. So our mission statement is to create the leaders for tomorrow. Our goals include promoting public speaking and other life skills within the youth, supporting charitable organizations in our area, and providing the youth with a platform to showcase their fantastic skills. In the past, we've hosted a variety of events such as public speaking workshops across the nation, small clothing drives, career exploration symposiums, where we invite a panel of esteemed speakers to share their insights on experiences in high school, college, and beyond. And of course, our annual Speak the Difference fundraisers. And during these fundraisers, we host several different competitions such as impromptu speaking, art, essay, and more for students to participate in to fundraise. And at the end of the event day, we hold an award ceremony where we make announcements, including how much we raised for the charity we chose that year.
That sounds like such an awesome organization. I'm very impressed. I need to be a part of something like that, but I'm sure I'm much too old. So what other organizations has Key to Finesse supported in the past?
So each year we partner with, different unique organizations who we raise awareness and fundraise for. So in the past, those have included the Heat and Warmth Fund, also known as THA, Love, Blessings in a Backpack, Easter Seals, Gleaners Food Bank, and of course, the Gift of Life Foundation last year. And these organizations have had varied missions, such as addressing food insecurity, providing utilities for the underprivileged, mental health awareness, and other health-related issues. And through our 6 annual fundraisers, we've raised over $200,000.
Wow, that's really great. So tell me how you came to partner with Gift of Life Michigan and the Gift of Life Foundation. How did you make that decision?
Yeah, I can actually talk a little bit about that. Every year, as Kano mentioned, we as a team we split up and we go out into the community and search out and research organizations in our community that we think are doing some real meaningful work. And it's actually a pretty simple process. Once our team has gotten time to research and find something that they're passionate about, we all reconvene and then present our charities to each other. And then as a group, we kind of come to a consensus that this is the charity that we think most aligns with our mission and we think like has the most pressing need.
Okay. Now, I'm sure 2020 had to be a challenging year to do fundraising because we were in the middle of a national pandemic. What sort of difficulties did you encounter, especially when it came to engaging volunteers or doing some sort of fundraising? What was that like?
Yeah, so like everyone else, we really did have to adapt to these changes because organizing a fundraiser and raising money is already such a tough task, but to do it without seeing anyone in person, it felt nearly impossible. So we were really hesitant to continue, but knowing that the need for organ donors and funding was heightened due to the pandemic, we decided to remain persistent and we tried to find some solutions. So our first difficulty was shifting to an online platform and being able to coordinate all these meetings with our volunteers in order to keep everyone in the loop. So with the help of Gift of Life officials, we were able to host multiple training sessions, and we as a board attempted to hold meetings often to keep everyone on task and motivated throughout this arduous process. And in terms of fundraising itself, we reached out to businesses and people through persistent communication, such as sending emails, making phone calls, setting up Zooms, anything that would be convenient for the other party. And as you all may know, in any fundraising process, rejection is quite common and one of the biggest obstacles. And with the pandemic being such a difficult time for so many, we dealt with rejection even more. However, we completely understood and were incredibly respectful in those situations. And with that said, even though the task at hand seemed very difficult and intimidating, we found our way around. We found some really good solutions.
Okay. Now, you mentioned earlier that you have a main event called Speak the Difference. Can you go back to that and tell us more about that and tell us how that event was also affected by the pandemic?
Yeah, so the Speak the Difference fundraiser is basically where we host a variety of competitions for students to participate in. And usually in a conventional year, it would be in person at this large venue. Competitions would be running in multiple rooms. And then we would end it off with this, fantastic award ceremony. So because we had to shift to a fully virtual and synchronous event, a lot of logistics went behind planning it. So we made detailed schedules with exact timings and ran approximately 5 or so competitions on separate Zoom links at the same time. Each of those rooms were run by a designated team of board members and additional volunteers. We utilized all these different functions such as breakout rooms to move participants around, meet with judges, and so on and so forth. Lastly, we had that main Zoom link for the final award ceremony where we invited 3 fantastic keynote speakers, Mr. Rupraj, Representative Padmakupa, and the CEO of Gift of Life Michigan, Ms. Dory Dills, and they shared their fantastic insights. We announced all our sponsors and winners, and we presented our video of how much we raised and how many people we were able to add to the registry. So definitely a very different planning process with a lot of intricacies and details to be ironed out, but we got it done and we were able to host it on December 13th of last year.
Oh, that's awesome. Do you remember how many people you were able to add to the registry? Do you remember that number?
Yeah, we were able to add over 100 people to the registry.
Wow, that is amazing. Now, when you had that Speak the Difference program and you announced that you raised $75,000 for our organization in the middle of a pandemic, what was the result? How did everyone react to hearing that?
I think a lot of people at first thought that everybody knew at the same time. We have like a finance team. I'm part of it. We have like a little department where we just handle all the finances. And we didn't tell anybody for a long time what the numbers were coming out to be because we were so shocked ourselves. But I think, given, especially as Kano mentioned, there were so many difficulties. We weren't even sure we would come anywhere, past what we had raised in the past for other organizations. But I think it was just shock. Everybody, all of our team members, everybody that had supported us, they were just shocked that, a team of high schoolers was able to pull something off like that in a pandemic.
Wow, you guys should feel so proud of all the work that you've done. That is amazing. I have a question here from one of our viewers, Tanya Smith. She says, what are the requirements to join Key to Finesse?
Usually when we usually have a group of volunteers that are kind of like our first line of involvement with the organization. So whoever is interested, typically in the range of middle school to high school. It used to, in fact, it used to mainly be high schoolers, and then we saw that there was a lot of interest in middle schoolers too. So it really is anybody who is interested. And in terms of the requirements, typically all of us have been connected by a public speaking and confidence building program that my mom actually teaches. She runs her own business, Finesse Academy. But really anybody who we think after they go through just an application process, we just want to see what their interest is, and if they really are genuinely interested in doing meaningful volunteer work, anybody's welcome.
Okay. Just looking at some of the comments here, people are very impressed by both of you and Key to Finesse. Circle of Arts Performing Arts Academy says it sounds like an amazing organization. And Jordan Caldwell says, always great to see our youth pioneer the future. Now, while you guys were doing this fundraising, you spent a lot of time with our Chief of Philanthropy, Susan Rink, and I'd like to bring you into this conversation, Susan. So, Susan, tell us about the Gift of Life Foundation.
Absolutely. So the Gift of Life Foundation is a nonprofit organization whose sole mission is to support Gift of Life Michigan. This year, Gift of Life is celebrating its 50th anniversary, and the foundation was established 1 year after Gift of Life Michigan was established. So we receive funds from our generous community partners, from donor families who are memorializing their loved one, or thankful transplant recipients. And we use those funds to provide community grants and lecture series grants to our hospital partners, as well as transitioning to a more active fundraising, which was my role. I was hired about 2.5 years ago to build an active fundraising program for the organization. And we've been so thankful to have partnered with Key to Finesse last year. It was really an amazing partnership.
Okay, so tell us about your experience with Key to Finesse. What was it like working with them?
Absolutely. So let me go back to that question about the reveal when we were on the Zoom call in December, and they revealed that they had raised $75,000 on behalf of our organization. I think I literally fell out of my chair. So it was pretty amazing. And to go back to when this all started, I received a communication from Krish Kanal and then one of their other board members, Nick. They were the three that chose our organization. And they go through a pretty significant introductory process. They really want to learn about who we are and what we do. And I remember it pretty well because we actually got to meet in person, I think up in Farmington at a Panera prior to the pandemic. So this was started, I believe, last January. So I partnered with them. They had a ton of questions. From day one, I was amazingly just so impressed with their intellect and their poise and their capability and the organization in general. So I really wanted to do whatever I could to have these guys partner. I believe in the year prior, they partnered with Gleaners and were able to raise just over $50,000. So the thought of $50,000 was fabulous, but the idea of $75,000 is just, is amazing. So we, as Connell had mentioned, we spent a couple months getting to that introductory process where these three board members got to know Gift of Life Michigan and the foundation. And then they went back to their board, as Chris said, to present their charity. And thankfully, we were chosen by the whole board to be the partner. And then we worked through the pandemic, switching to Zoom calls, switching to, we said, virtual training sessions. We really wanted to make sure that if these students were going to go speak about our organizations, that they were aware of the nuance of organ and tissue donation, the important need for organ and tissue donation so that they could be advocates on our behalf. And they were amazing. And so was our communications team, who was really instrumental in helping me get all of that training up and running, because you guys are really the outreach folks that know this like the back of your hand. So it was a great process. I was so happy to partner with them all year, and I'm sad to see that we might not be able to do it again. So maybe we'll have to convince you guys to partner with us again.
So how will the foundation use those funds?
Well, that's an interesting question. So when we first visited with Key to Finesse, one of the things we tried to focus on with them was how organ and tissue transplants and the need affect young people. You know, this was an area that they were compassionate about, and at the same time, their organization is mainly youth driven. So we also wanted to talk about the registry, have these students have the conversation about the importance of becoming an organ donor when you have the opportunity to get your driver's license. So when we got the reveal and learned of the scope of that, when I had a conversation actually with our CEO, Dory Dills, the first thing out of her mouth was, we need to put this money back into youth programming at Gift of Life Michigan so it can go full circle to support young people. So that was where we wanted to go with it. We didn't really have a program in mind, and I think we're going to talk about that a little bit later.
Okay. That sounds really great. I can't wait to hear more about how those funds will be put to use. And with that, Susan, I believe we're going to switch roles for a minute, and you have some questions for me.
I do. All right, Shalonda, how has the pandemic changed how you're able to visit and engage students in our communities and in our schools?
That's a good question. So I am the community relations coordinator here in the Flint-Saginaw area. And I also have two other colleagues who do the same thing that I do, but in different areas of the state. We have Allison Gillum on the west side of the state, and then Tanisha Campbell in the Detroit metro area. And in our positions, what we do, part of what we do, I should say, is we go out and we talk to students about organ and tissue donation. We talk to them about transplantable organs and tissues, why transplants are needed, and the donation process. The program that we have is actually called All of Us, and it's named that because it takes all of us to help save lives. And normally when we're not in the middle of a pandemic, we would go to the school. We would also have a volunteer with us, and the volunteer is usually an organ or a tissue recipient who will share their personal story and allow the students to ask any questions that they may have. And we just do little things to try to help the students get a better grasp of what it's like for someone who's waiting for a transplant. So, for instance, we pass out these coffee stirrers, and we will have the students breathe through those coffee stirrers as they hold their nose to just try to demonstrate what it's like for someone who is waiting for a lung transplant, for instance.
So you have mentioned All of Us. Can you tell us a little bit about how that program came about within your outreach team?
Well, this was a program that we had before the pandemic started, but once the pandemic hit and we couldn't go into the school like we used to, we really had to pivot on how we reach students. So it went from being an in-person presentation to a virtual presentation. So there's two things that we've been doing. We can do our normal PowerPoint presentation where we just share our slides with the teacher via Zoom or via Google Meet. And we can also have a volunteer join us on that call as well. Or we can send the teacher a link that will allow them to do a self-guided presentation. We put together a video, it's 24 minutes, and it covers the transplantable organs and tissues, why transplants are needed, and the donation process. And it also highlights some young people who give their testimony of what it's like to not only receive a transplant, but how their lives have been changed since they received that transplant. And after they watch that video, there is a program we use that's called Kahoot that allows the students to be quizzed on what it is they just watched to make sure, that information is sticking with them. And then there's also extension exercises. So for instance, one of the extension exercises encourages students to create a PSA that encourages people to join the Michigan Organ Donor Registry.
Great. I'm not sure if we have any teachers out there, but if anybody, do you have a contact info, or if anyone wants to enter into the chat of school that might want to connect with you guys, this might be a great opportunity to do that.
Yeah, so if there's an educator watching who is interested in the All of Us program, they can either email us at info@golm.org, or they can also check us out on our webpage. They can go to www.golm.org/allofus.
Great, thank you. All right. So I had kind of teased that we were going to use the Key to Finesse funds for youth programming. So do you want to talk about how we made the decision to turn the Key to Finesse funds over to the All of Us program, and then how that's going to enhance your capability to grow the program? And what have we learned because of the pandemic?
So All of Us, in my humble opinion, is a great program all on its own, but we wanted to take it to the next level, and these funds will allow us to do that. So the funds that we're going to receive, they are going to allow us to have several traveling trunks, and in those traveling trunks, we'll have things such as plastinated real organs. So a student will be able to see what a real kidney looks like, for instance, up close and personal. There'll also be tissue samples. They'll also receive a pair of glasses that simulate what corneal blindness is like. There'll also be a workbook along with some promotional items that have the All of Us logo on there as well. And this is really going to take it to the next level because we'll be able to reach students who aren't necessarily in our area. So maybe you're a student who lives in Marquette or someone who lives in Adrian. We can ship those trunks to the teacher at that school, and they're able to do some self-guided instruction with their students. And there's absolutely no cost. And as COVID restrictions get lifted as time goes on, we'll also be able to go into schools in person with that traveling trunk and continue our in-person presentations of All of Us.
That's excellent. I'm anticipating that's going to be able to really expand our footprint into more schools across the state to get the youth more involved. Can you, do you have a sense as to when we're going to be able to start this new programming with these enhancements?
So our plan is to roll out the new program this fall. So just in time for the 2021-2022 school year.
Excellent, excellent. And how do you anticipate that this is going to grow the awareness and the eventual registrants on the organ donor registry?
I think it will be monumental. I mean, the point of us doing this program is so that when students are asked if they'd like to join the Michigan Organ Donor Registry when they're at the Secretary of State, they'll be able to make an informed decision as opposed to just having to depend on a local urban myth or maybe something they saw on Grey's Anatomy the night before. They'll be able to make the best decision for them with the accurate information that they have.
Absolutely. I think sadly, those myths on television are very, they're lasting. And then depending on what, minority represented community we may be visiting, there's longtime myths that we try to break down each and every day. One of the things as well that I'm excited about is some of the print material. I know that we're going to have in some of the schools that you present in the area in kind of northern Detroit area, the suburbs where Chris and Kanal are. We're going to have the opportunity to brand that Key to Finesse is the organization that helped us support this. So, we're still promoting you guys throughout this whole program. So, Shalonda, I appreciate you taking the time to talk to us about the All of Us program. I'm excited to see how you guys are going to be able to grow it. I think this is, like you said, it's exponential what we can do. And the more that we can educate youth and inform them about organ and tissue donation, it's going to help save lives. So,
yeah, I am super excited about this. Thank you all so much for the funds that you have raised and what those funds will allow us to do. As Susan said, we really will be able to take this to the next level and reach areas that we have not been able to reach before. I actually have some comments on the screen from two of my colleagues that I mentioned earlier. Allison Gillum, she said, awesome work, thank you. And then Tanisha Campbell says, the traveling trunk sounds like an amazing opportunity for students to get hands-on involvement. So we're super excited about this, as you can see. So thank you, thank you, thank you very much. Now, I'd like to bring in a teacher into this conversation. I've had the opportunity to present to Miss Courtney Maynard's health class back in 2019 would have been the last time I saw you, or maybe early 2020. I don't know. The dates just kind of blend together now, but I haven't seen you in a while, but you have been able to have the program both in person and virtually. So I want you to tell us how your students have responded to that?
Well, thank you for having me today. Honestly, the students have responded really well, and it's really changed how I teach health and just my thoughts on advocating and bringing awareness. Um,
Mhm.
Obviously, having you in person and having the guest speaker come in and really letting the students get involved in the conversation is different than being virtual. But on the same side, the virtual piece, I don't feel like we've missed anything. I've been able to pause, answer questions, and students have great questions. Like you said, they'll see something on TV and they'll want to know, like, is this true? Does this really happen?
Mhm.
So I think it brings up good conversation pieces that they don't actually get to have with other teachers or maybe even have at home. So
Okay. So, how do you anticipate the new program enhancements will further help your students and students statewide?
I mean, it's really exciting. And what you guys have done is phenomenal. I mean, we have done, like I said, the in-person, the virtual piece. We've done the Cahoots and the extension programs. And I even kind of took it a little bit further and made some of my own extensions. And I just think that it's going to get kids wanting to talk about it more. They're excited about it because they're getting their driver's license in most cases. I deal with freshmen and they want to go home and talk about it. They want to tell their family members. And a lot of times their family members are misinformed. So I think it's going to put more information in their hands. And then with the interactive piece, they can go back and show mom and dad or grandpa and grandma and say, no, this is the thing. And this is where we need to sign up. And this is how we can get more people involved. So I
Mhm.
think it's going to be really a huge change for the program, even though you guys are doing so much already. It's just taking it to the next level. And isn't that what we're always trying to do is reach to the next level?
Always. Yeah, my favorite thing about that virtual program is what you just mentioned. Students were able to share it with their family,
Yes.
mom and dad, grandma, grandpa. Maybe they are not registered organ donors because of some misinformation. So they can sit down as a family and watch it together and ask questions and talk about donation. And I think that's really cool. That's really, really great.
I think so too.
So,
And sorry, go ahead.
oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, and I was just going to say our students last year before the pandemic hit wanted to take it around the school and ask their teachers, who donates, who out there knows about this and who doesn't, so we can inform the other classes. And they took it to other classrooms in the building and shared their knowledge on it and provided the websites and some of the handout materials. We had teachers signing hearts, and we had a bulletin board out in the hallway. We had seniors coming down and juniors signing because they were donors, and it was just a really exciting time because the kids were excited about it. So now their friends were excited about it.
Hmm. I had such a great time presenting to your students because
Hey,
they were really, really involved. They had a lot of great questions, things that I had never thought about before. And your students are so sweet because they made me a big thank you card on construction paper that
yes.
said, thank you for teaching us how to give so that others may live or something like that. And I
Yes.
still have that to this day.
Oh,
I keep it. Yeah, it has all their names on it and little hearts. It's great. So I'm glad that this program really is touching students and making them think about things in a different way and helping them to realize that there are some kids who might not be as fortunate when it comes to their health as they might be if they're a healthy student. So, yeah. So, what are you most excited about when it comes to this new program?
I'm excited that there is the virtual piece, but with the idea of maybe hoping, getting back face to face, that's exciting. But I love the idea of the traveling trunks because you are going to reach so many more students and teachers who are then going to get excited and tell their friends and their colleagues, and it's going to go in other classrooms and other school districts, and this is going to spread like wildfire. And I just think it's unstoppable. And this is really exciting too because now, like you said, they get to see the organ. It
Hmm.
makes sense. It's going to be a memorable thing, and they're going to want to make that connection to it.
Hmm. That is, it's amazing. And we're
It is.
able to do all of these things because of other young people who
Yes.
thought of our organization, like Chris and Kranal. And we are most grateful for you and for your organization, not just for what you've done for Gifts of Life, but what you guys have done for so many other organizations across the area. I'm sure that it is much appreciated. And I am sure that since you're such amazing young people, you're going to grow up to be amazing adults and continue to change the world. So thank you. So for those of you who are interested in learning more about this program, you can always go to our website, golm.org. You can also sign up to join the Michigan Organ Donor Registry on that site. And if you would like to learn more specifically about the All of Us program, once you type in our website, golm.org, you put in /all of us, or you can also email us at info@golm.org. Once again, my name is Shalonda Griffin, and I've been joined by Susan Rink, Courtney Maynard, Krish Golsock, and Kanal Patel. And thank you all so much for being here today. I appreciate your time, your expertise, and your thoughts. And for all of you who are watching out there, feel free to like and share this video. Let us know that you watched this, even if you watched it on the replay. Drop us a little message in the chat. You can do hashtag all of us. Just let us know that you were there and you were listening. And with that, I hope that all of you have an amazing Wednesday, and I look forward to seeing you all again soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.